Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 12 Monkeys, part of our JKL Media series coverage that we're doing right now. And if you remember from our previous episode, we've decided to do these in blocks of four. This seems to work out well given the pacing and the content of the episodes. That I think we've agreed that to do a per episode breakdown is a little overkill for this series, and at the same time it allows us to get through this series a little quicker as well. And I think that these last four episodes highlight that point quite well. But before we get into those, so let me introduce my fellow time traveling companions. Jesse.
Hello, Lou. And yes, I was much happier with
Mm-hmm.
the series after these four episodes.
Excellent. And Karen.
Hello. Nice to be talking 12 monkeys with you.
Mm-hmm. And the four episodes that we're doing are The Night Room, The Red Forest, The Keys, and Yesterday. So when we left off on our previous episode, one of the things that we were not happy about was the fact that in the episode 3, Cassandra Complex, Cole killed somebody, Henri, because he thought that that would prevent the 12 monkeys from finding the location of the night room. And what I really liked is in the night room, that whole episode, that whole storyline was addressed. Maybe not fully completely, but it wasn't something that they just discarded and never talked about again. I like the fact that the show is addressing things that it sets up rather quickly, and it also crystallized for me that the two viewpoints of these two characters, Cassandra and Cole. She's about saving lives, and he's about I don't want to say eliminating lives, but his goal is about destroying the virus so that everybody that from his world can have a better future. So I really like the dynamic of that scene, and we'll start off with Karen. What did you think about that particular story point?
Yeah, I think that they both are into saving lives. I just think they do it in different ways. The environment he was brought up in, I mean, the virus was around the whole time. He was born into that world. And so he talks about it in the episode Yesterday that, when Cassandra confronts him about Henri, was it Yesterday? I'm not sure. Anyway, whichever of these four, I watched them all at the same time. So whichever of these four episodes was the one that he was confronted about it. He does have a valid point that in order to do what he has to obtain this goal of saving millions of lives, if he has to kill a couple people, so be it. And I think he could have done better explaining about why he killed Henri, but I think he just made an overall statement about it. He could have said, I was doing it to protect him, or I was doing it because if they knew he knew about it, they would have tortured him. He could have actually explained that to her, and I think she would have understood more. Not that she would have liked it, but I think she would have understood more that he was not only doing it to further his goals, but there were also benevolent reasons for doing it. He didn't want him to be tortured and taken and, all that, which he would have been. I mean, if once they found out about it, he would have been taken and tortured. So I did like that she kind of understands his justification. She might not like it, but she understands that he is also trying to save lives, and that they both have the same goal in mind. And I mean, literally the same goal. He's trying to stop the virus where it starts, and her life is all about stopping viruses as well, as a virologist. So I thought it was a really nice parallel and showing how desperate his time is compared to hers, that, you know,
Mhm.
she can afford to take her time and try to find these cures, and he can't afford that. So I really liked that whole comparison between the
Mhm.
two.
Yep. Jesse.
Yeah, I'm getting to like our male lead a little bit more as we go through the journey. And I do one of the things I do applaud this series on is I think it's quick paced. And I
Mhm.
also think that the Cole is very, my job is to eliminate my current existence, right? The I am serving a greater goal. And so if I there is not a debate for him, one life versus millions, he goes to the millions immediately.
Mhm.
You know, um there's the great line in one of the Buffy the Vampire Slayers where they're in an alternate world where everything is horrible and they're gonna push it and they go, like, I wish I could remember exactly, but like, how do you know it's gonna be a world? And it says it has to be.
Mhm.
And so he is like, no matter what I do, it's gotta be better than where I'm at now.
Right.
And so I like that a lot. And I love this. They do seem to be doing a good job of following up
Mhm.
that um this is a show that serves us binging it. Because I was watching it and I went, oh, I immediately wanted to watch the next one. Oh, I immediately wanted to watch the next one. And I stopped specifically because, or else I would have, I mean, because the next episode is uh it's not tomorrow, it's something
Right.
else. Yeah,
It's tomorrow.
It's
yeah, it
tomorrow.
is. Yeah, so yesterday and tomorrow. Yeah, I'm really I'm on board. I was
Mhm.
lukewarm last time, going, yeah, this will be fine. This one I like a little bit more, and I see a little bit as they're getting their foot underneath them. They're,
Mhm.
that where this could be pretty interesting story. And I'm liking more of the characters in the present,
Mhm.
their present than, with the time traveling stories.
Right. Yeah, I particularly I wanted to start with this episode with that particular story point because I thought that that might be something that you would glom onto, Jesse, because you've got reservations about Cole.
Yeah,
So I thought that was, oh, Jesse's going to like this scene. And I particularly like,
yeah,
when Cassandra says, look, well, you killed the guy and they still came here. Like they still found the night room. So you killed the guy
yeah,
for nothing, right? So I particularly like that beat. And I thought that was really nicely done. I still have some qualms about how Cassie, kind of waves off the fact that he killed the guy, especially a guy that she obviously had some feelings for. So
yeah.
that wasn't totally resolved, and maybe that will come in the future. But
Hmm.
I did like that. And the other thing I'm liking about the show that we're seeing over the course of these next batch of episodes is they're matching up characters that we normally in other shows you probably wouldn't get them having an episode with each other until like maybe in the second season kind of thing. So you're matching up like the Doctor, um, Katarina. I just love saying that name, by the way, and
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think she's really good in the show. She's actually my
Yes.
favorite character right now, and I'm really interested to find out her backstory. And I'm remembering glimpses of some of these episodes as we're going through it. I particularly remember the storyline with that Ramsey, Kirk Acevedo's getting. And I think he gets to show a lot more so far in this series than he got during his whole run when I saw him on Fringe. So that's been good as well. Um, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit now,
No, it's
but
okay.
but the thing that I wanted to discuss next was it is specific to the mechanics of writing that the time travel mechanism gives a show. I really like I think it was the episode The Keys, or was it The Keys, where we have them chasing down the location of the virus to Chechnya, and then the next scene jumps to Cole being in Chesnia. So there's like, well, wait a minute. He just left them, and they were still trying to find out where it was going to actually take place, when this Operation Troy. And then we find out that he had already come back, and they had talked about this. So you set up this thing that they know back then what's going to happen to him in this week later, when he's actually physically on location. And Cassandra cannot tell him what's going to happen. So I particularly liked that story device in that particular episode. And I thought, and it was self-contained too, so you didn't have to wait for the payoff in the next episode. It happened within the same episode, which was pretty cool. So I'll throw it to you first, Jesse. I particularly like that whole quick little time travel subplot. What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I love that. I am glad that the Cassie is Aaron, right? I think Noah, right? The Noah Bean's character, Aaron Marker, because of this, and once again, they're all kind of blending together, right? But he sees him splinter, he sees Cole splinter, and
right.
Seeing is believing, and now he's bought into this, the not conspiracy, but the idea that this is going on, and it is very timey-wimey that, okay, we can't tell, he's going to die. Because of the data we tell him, and right, you have to try to timeline this out. Okay, he comes back and they tell him, oh, you need to go, but they already know what's going to happen. So,
yeah, no bleach. Oh, Jesse hung. Everybody hung. Oh,
yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, the idea that he was successful in stopping the virus from going everywhere. So if he wasn't there, would the virus have gone? I also, kind of jumping ahead maybe a little bit, I am chilled, yet I am chilled but not surprised that the government thinking, well, we can weaponize this, like nothing bad's gonna ever happen with something that this is deadly, right? We're gonna know. And the idea of the idea that we create our own monsters, like whether it's the nuclear bomb, whether it's automatic weapons, whether it's high-speed internet, whatever we create, right?
Yeah.
We create it with a good purpose, and sometime we just end up blanking it up.
Yeah. And
well, unfortunately, it wasn't a great purpose in this case. But
no, yeah.
On a slight nerdy tangent, it was great to see Steve McHattie in there, who I always think of as the blue collar version of Lance Hendrickson. So that was good to see him in this episode as well.
Absolutely.
Karen, what did you think about that whole can't tell Cole what's going to happen so we don't break the timeline?
I have to admit, I got a little teary when she's on the phone to him.
Yeah.
And then when she talks to him in person and she realizes that's the conversation they need to have about, what's your place that you would go to. I was like, oh, it's the keys. I get it.
Yeah.
And I do, like you said, I love that it's self-contained in that one episode, that we don't have to go on a cliffhanger to see what happens to it. I think this show does that well. It's happened in almost every episode.
Yeah.
That we don't have to have this huge cliffhanger at the end of it. I like that they are confident enough in their storytelling that they don't feel like they have to hook you for you to come back.
Yeah.
Which is, it happens a lot in timey-wimey shows.
Yeah, they also did it in the night room when Aaron and Cole went back to rescue Cassandra, and
Yep.
he couldn't get too close because his other version of himself was there as well, and
Yeah, I
that was
like that they're
fun.
sticking to the rules too.
Yes.
That's good. A lot of times, again, a timey-wimey show doesn't stick to the rules.
Mhm.
And one thing I'm wondering if they set up in these episodes, and it's because I've watched so much time travel stuff. You guys know I'm a huge time travel fan.
Mhm.
When it comes to shows or books or whatever, I love time travel romances. It's so dumb. I love them. Anyway, I think they've set up a kind of bootstrap paradox thing that might be coming up where is it the experiments she had in the splinter machine that caused this virus?
Mm.
Because we see that skeleton in the vault. Was it one of her failed experiments that
Yeah.
was sent back?
Mhm.
And that made me wonder that. I also love that they subverted that when he goes to his future and it's different.
Mhm.
And he realizes, yes, things can get worse. That, they subvert that as well, that
Yeah.
he is not known by these people, that he manages to fix that timeline,
Mhm.
which, he's trying to eliminate his timeline, but he has to fix it in order to eliminate it. I mean, there's all these kind of mixed up things, but again, they're all self-contained.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate that in this show. I mean, that's one thing that I love about this show so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I'm happy about is that we are covering more episodes than just one at a time. What I'm unhappy about is based on schedule, I don't get to rewatch the episodes. I usually
Yeah.
just go through one time.
Yeah.
And this feels like this would be really a rewatch would really add another layer to this.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I'm not changing our thing. I'm just going, I can understand why people are passionate about this series because
Mhm.
I do think they are trying to do world building
Yeah.
and set things up. And, one of the last episodes, one of my complaints is I don't care about the Cole's present. I
Mhm.
don't care about them. And I compared to like on the Quantum Loop continuation, I cared about the modern times just as much.
Right.
Well, I have a little different feeling now. After
Yeah.
these 4 episodes, I do care about her. And I like the idea. And we have gotten to the point where there's the and I may be jumping ahead, right? Like we have to go to the past and fix it,
Mhm.
or we need to find a cure and move forward.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That
Yeah.
debate, I think, is a valid debate. I think
Right.
it's a really strong debate.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll just touch again. Well, one last point I want to make about the night rooms sequence where Cole is there, both in his earlier timeline and another timeline with Aaron. Is the moment when he disappears is Jennifer's reaction, and she's already, mentally unstable because of what she's gone through. Seeing that, I just think that that's you know, they're hanging a hat on that. Something's going to become of that, and what that is, I think I kind of remember, but I don't want to say at this point. But I think that there's going to be an interesting payoff for that moment as well. There was also in the focusing on Cole and Cassandra still for now. There was also in the episode The Keys where they're trying to stop the bioweapon from being deployed in the first place. They go to that event where the scientist is going to be talking about something, and I don't know what exactly, but it's a formal occasion, so they're all dressed up in that. It was funny to see Cole dressed up. Still could have used a shave, but it was funny. But he was sort of taken aback by the whole thing. I just loved it when he picked up all the
skewers.
as the skewers.
That was great.
Yeah,
that was very funny.
That was funny.
And
then,
that Aaron is like, is that my tux?
Yeah, like
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's that Yeah, the relationship between the two is Cole is all business and Cassandra is all emotion. But in that sequence when they're dancing together, they've kind of flipped their roles, and he's trying to enjoy this, and she's all about we've got to finish the mission thing. So, Kara, why don't you talk about that particular scene?
Yeah, I love when they do those little departures where Cole is deciding, okay, there's an urgency in this, but I can't help but just enjoy something that's so carefree. It's not what my life is like in 2047. I can eat good food. I don't have to eat rats or whatever,
Yeah.
I can dance, I can dress up, I can take showers. I mean, I'm thinking even, down to the smallest of things, I can wear nice shoes. And I'm thinking in my head this, obviously he doesn't say all that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming at that point that it's just him savoring how different things are
Mm-hmm.
in the past, and that okay, so I deal in time travel, so maybe I can slow down just a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
it's great, and the fact that he wants to bond with Cassie a little bit, I think that's why he asks her to dance. He has this affection for her,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason she dances with him and doesn't insist upon it is because I think she wants to bond with him as well. They're in this together and they feel alone in this together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of puts them into a category amongst themselves. Like, Jennifer knows about it, but she's a crazy person.
Yep.
Aaron doesn't believe her. And, they're just kind of in this bubble, and it illustrates that point that they're in a bubble together.
Mm-hmm. Jesse.
Yeah, I like that. And what's interesting is the idea. He originally was the one obsessed, right? We need
Yeah.
to take care of this. We need to take care of this. And now then he is, I think, partly because of his influence of his friend from Kirk, the guy,
Yeah.
that maybe,
Ramsey.
yeah, Ramsey, take a little bit of this, um and you are grasping the concept of time travel, is that we can get back to where we need to go. Yeah,
Right.
I love everything about that scene, including, as you guys talked about, the not just taking one skewer but all of them, and and
Yeah.
the waiter looking like, wow. So it's really, really well done. My and and you wonder, then you go back, right, that when, after he is supposedly lost, you wonder if Cassie has thought back of that, and
Mm-hmm.
and wondering what's going on. So yeah, really well done, played for humor, but at the same time not, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's
Yeah,
character
it has
building.
a
Yeah.
serious
Yeah.
undercurrent to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Um, so the other uh interesting time travel thing timey-wimey thing they've done here is that they've set it up. It's almost like that Silence in the Lambs moment where the one police force is breaking into the house where they think Hannibal Lecter is, but when they burst through the door, or when the door opens, it's actually Clarice. She's at the place where Buffalo Bill is. In this, we've got Cassie going all the way out to Chechnya to examine the ruins, and there's nobody there. But then we pull back, and Cole is there, but it's 2 years later. So I thought that was a nice fake out as well. And the other thing that they did is they called back to the wristwatch. They showed that the scratch is still on the crystal. So I thought that those were nice little moments as well. Any thoughts on that, Karen?
Yeah, is the scratch going to disappear?
Should have.
Yeah. And I really did like that he was displaced in time. We
Mhm.
know that we're having difficulty with the machine, that he only has a couple jumps left in him. I mean, not a couple, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
And the fact that he's in the wrong place, that they tried to pull him out and he only went 2 years.
Mhm.
that's super interesting, and that the virus was deployed.
Yep.
So he's failed in his mission, and that's also reinforced by showing the watch at
Yep.
the end that he did not
Yeah.
succeed in his mission. I like that scene where she shows up and she's gorgeous in that head wrap. I mean,
Mhm.
I was mooning a little bit, but she feels vindicated and realizing she's not, and hoping that she stays on her path, because if she doesn't, then the message doesn't get out to him, and blah blah blah. But
Mhm.
so many things implicated by that one scene is really cool.
Mhm. Jesse.
Yeah, I was wondering after the explosion happened, and by the way, really interesting, they don't believe Cole, and he's like, I'm telling you, don't open that case, don't open that case, which of course they're going to open, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know what else he could have done differently.
Mhm.
Like, I know you really want to open that case, but I'm telling you, this is nothing good going to happen. And so then after he sees the people dying, and it's an interesting point, right? I don't know if they had talked about it before, but it makes sense. There are a certain percentage of people who are immune of the virus. So
Mhm.
that's part of the survivors. So he knows he's going to be okay. And
Mhm.
then when he's underneath the rubble and he's talking to someone, I did not trust that it was really a young girl.
Oh.
I thought there
Same.
was going to be some kind of reveal
Mm.
that I did not see the future time jump, but I
Mhm.
thought this is something they're going to trick him. This is
Okay.
not going to be something really a
Mhm.
young girl with a family. And when she says, I'm trying to get my dad, I was picturing catfish everywhere, right? Like this is something that's not true.
Right.
And so to have that, where they tried to pull him out, wasn't able to do it, and Ramsey, mourning, and Katarina mourning, was just really well done.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for me, when the girl started to cough, I was going, okay,
Mhm.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There it
exactly. It was
goes.
like,
Yeah.
okay, there's the virus. It's going everywhere. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that point, we thought that it was still 2015, at least
Yeah.
I
Right.
did,
Yeah.
and that
Exactly.
it was immediately released
Mhm.
Yeah.
to people. And that conveys a sense of urgency. And then when you find out it's actually 2 years later and the
Mhm.
virus has already gone through everything, I mean, that sense of just, he
Yeah.
has to be defeated in that moment.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so I think we've covered what we'll call our time period pretty well. So we'll turn to the future, and I think this is where the show has progressed the most in establishing empathy for what's going on there. A lot of it has to do with Ramsey's character, with this discovery that his one true love or previous relationship is she's living at this other area that also maintains some sort of civilization, and finds out that he has a son. So that automatically, just really brings a lot of extra emotional context to the future stuff for us, just through his character. And I really like that. And as well, there's the general there that did the coup, and that actor, I've seen him in a lot of things as well. Another character actor that if you've watched any TV.
The Walking Dead, he plays Gregory in The Walking Dead.
Okay, yeah, I didn't watch Walking Dead after a couple of seasons, so he must have came later. But
24 he played, and then he's one of the weasels on Air Force One.
Yeah.
oh, okay. So a good actor, and I have to
Yes.
say, like, and just for comparison, and if any Babylon 5 fans are listening, please don't get upset, but I haven't seen a bad actor in this show yet.
Same.
All the supporting characters are excellent, and the actors that they're getting for these new roles in the future are good as well. So there's this whole new future thing going on there, and the fact that Katerina has backstory with this general as well is also interesting. And I just think that the show really worked hard in the first 5 episodes to establish the main cast of characters, and now we're seeing in the next batch of episodes a lot of work being done with the supporting cast. So I really like how the show is hitting the ground running rather solidly, as opposed to, say, like some of our other favorite series that we've reviewed in the past, like Farscape and Fringe. They took like a whole season to get going, really. So I'm pretty impressed what they've managed to accomplish here so far. So Jesse, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I know you mentioned earlier that you were more invested in what's going on in the future as well. So your thoughts on the 2043 timeline?
Yeah, I really am finding, I agree with you. Katerina is very interesting, as is, we've all talked about how much we love Ramsey. And the idea that, we've now established a couple of other groups in the future, or their current, right? There is this military operation. There is also this band of rebels that Cole and Ramsey were part of.
Yeah.
So I like the future. And Xander Berkeley, who is playing Colonel Foster, is just someone who's been just in a lot of great stuff. He played, and I love the whole idea of he's now become, he's this convert religion, convinced that this is how we're going to save everyone going forward with a cure. We can't go back and win everyone else. But I like it when you have two opposing thoughts that both of them could have a legitimate thought, right? Yes, if we could get a cure, we can build the future going forward. You can't change the past. And then the other one is, well, yes, we can change the past if we just work on this together. And I just watched The Martian again, and just truly one of the surprises when I discovered that novel and read it and
his next one is
it.
better.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I've loved everything he's done, even the ones that other people have said they're not. But his latest one, that basically ends up being one character and then two characters. But I was so surprised in The Martian, and the idea of I'm watching the movie, right? And there's the scene, we either can shoot, we can send out a rescue. We have to either or, right? We can't do both. There isn't enough power to both. And so the idea of, well, what is the right path? And you don't know what is the right path. Our theory, because we are fans of Cole and Katerina, we think that's the right area. But the reality is, you could see his point too, that no, if we can just get a cure and we can start we can get a vaccine, things will go. And her point goes, no, it keeps changing too much. I thought it was a great dynamic. And also the difference of, the military base looks cleaner. Looks like there's a school, there's a nursery. They look like they have running water. They look like they have electricity. And how do you not share that? We go back to Station 11, where the airport was self-contained, and it was almost a modern life there. And the rest of the people, they're just ignoring. And I love that dichotomy.
Yeah, I agree. Xander, is that his name? Xander Berkeley. His role in The Walking Dead is pretty much a mirror of this role as well,
Mm.
where he has his own little camp. He is the king or the god of it, and they have their own self-contained goodness. He lives in a mansion on The Walking Dead, and the people have their farm, and they're happy, and all this, but he's in it for the power. And I feel like that's kind of where he is in this show as well. That, yeah, he says that they're looking for a cure, and I don't doubt that they are, but I tend to believe that he doesn't care about that so much as he cares that they are dependent upon him. And he likes that dynamic, and he's willing to do anything to keep that standing in his community. Especially since we know he actually engineered a coup in order to keep that standing. And I like that our security guard, Whitley, he has a connection.
Yep.
His father is part of that group.
Yep.
I appreciated that. I like that we're seeing more of him because he's an interesting character. He's completely different from everyone else in that base, in the Splinter base. And I really appreciated that view into the future, that we see it's not all this desolate wasteland, that there are pockets maybe of civilization happening. We see that we see in the future that Katarina has a little apartment. She has things on the wall, she has books, and she guards that area. That is her bastion. She's keeping as much as she can from the past and trying to safeguard it. And we see that he lives in luxury. He has also an apartment with all these things in it, but he doesn't care about it. I don't think he cares about any of that stuff. He's not keeping it in order to perpetuate the culture of the past. He's keeping it for status reasons. He has the books, he has the pictures. You got to come to me if you want to see any of that stuff. And it just kind of shows the difference between the two of them in their sameness. And I think that's really talented writing, that they would give us that without yelling it at us. We see these glimpses, and they're very under the radar, but we can also see the difference between the two characters.
Yeah. I do think the writing is the strong point of the series to date. I mean, the acting is good, but yeah, the writing hasn't made any missteps. I'm curious how they're going to handle what seems to be something that I don't know if they're playing a little too soon, but the fact that the time travel, the splintering for Cole is having an effect on him, and he only has so many jumps left. And like, we're only in the first season. I don't know how they're going to get around that. It's kind of like in, what was it, Rocky 3 or something, where they said that, you've got, your one eye is blind and you've got concussions, you can't fight anymore. And he went on to make like 3 more movies. So it's kind of like that scenario. So I'm going to be interested to see how they write themselves around that. And the good thing is, with time travel, you can change things so that maybe that's not going to be as big of an issue going forward, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, and they've planted that seed of her having to give them injections of something to time travel.
Yeah.
That maybe she comes up with a different way, and it might be through this other community that she uses their resources to come up with a way to. I mean, I'm just speculating, obviously, at this point, but
yeah. So I like where the show is at this point, and I'm interested to see where it's going to go. I imagine that Ramsey finding out he's got a son in the future and basically a family is going to be setting up a very interesting conflict between him and Cole. And we're now at as where we've left off in the series. We don't know how they're going to get Cole back, because the machine has no power, and the only place that they get power from is from the idyllic community. So yeah, a lot of interesting things at play. I'm looking forward to see how this is all going to work out going forward. So with all of that, I'll give each of you a chance for your last thoughts. And Karen, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I want to mention also, I know it's kind of a throwaway part of the story, but Wexler, who is the whistleblower, the kind of,
Mm-hmm.
Going into hiding in Chechnya, we have definite parallels to real life there.
Yep.
But that actor was the male clone on Orphan Black.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I was taken aback by that immediately. And I'm kind of glad that he's not going to be in it anymore.
Oh, okay.
I really hated that character on Orphan Black. And I don't think he's a bad actor at all.
Mhm.
But whenever I see him, I think about that character.
Mm,
And so he, immediately I disliked him.
right.
Whereas in real life, I don't want to go out on a limb, but I think there's places for whistleblowers in our society.
Right.
And so I would be much more sympathetic to him in real life, but I immediately hated him when I saw him in this. So that storyline, it was definitely a throwaway. And I like how they plant those little seeds. We see him on the news and they say, "Che," before it's turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, was going to be Chechnya. And we go there and, it kind of cycles into this storyline. They've done this over the course of the show where they show us a little Easter egg. And then the next episode, we see it expanded upon.
Mm.
So I really like that. And even the small beats, I mean, it just shows you in the small beats, we see a lot.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of show, don't tell in the show, which I love.
Right. Jesse.
I really am enjoying this show more than I thought I was going to.
Mhm.
It is growing on me, and I specifically, I emailed you guys yesterday, like, okay, because I wanted to go to the next episode, and I said, no, nope, I think this is the 4 we're talking about.
Right.
This seems to be let me put it this way. I don't know what Endgame is on this series. I don't know what is a happy ending. I do not think, it doesn't seem as simple as, okay, we stopped this virus and now then everything's good. I don't think it's that simple, and
Mhm.
that's a good thing.
Right.
Um, I think they've expanded where I think good series have a cast where you enjoy spending time with the characters.
Right.
Whether it's as simple as Castle, where it's not just about Castle and Beckett, you like the supporting characters, whoever they are, and you
Mhm.
wish they had more screen time to,
Lainey.
Lainey and other, or, where, in Babylon 5, it isn't just Sheridan and,
Mhm.
Delenn. So I'm happy that they're doing this, and I like the backstory of, we find out that Katerina was part of this community and she went on her own. The idea, I don't know where they're going to go with this,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I think it's really, really. I'm glad we're going through this. I was okay the first time. This time, I'm much more on board. And as I said, I think this is something similar to Farscape, that repeated viewings would add other layers to it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And the other thing that we haven't touched upon yet that I'll just mention briefly here is that the show is also still laying new tracks for other things. We've got this whole Red Forest thing going on, plus this mention of The Witness, which
Oh,
we've only
yeah.
seen in silhouette. So that'll be interesting to see where those two elements play out going forward as well.
That's
So,
creepy.
yeah.
And she
Yeah.
kind of puts me in the mind of like a Borg Queen character.
Yeah, she was on Battlestar Galactica.
Was she?
I'm pretty sure she was like one of the senators or maybe a news reporter or some, but she might even been a Cylon. I can't remember now,
Well,
but
she's super creepy.
yeah, I've
Which
seen her. I've seen you before.
which character?
The lady with the short dark hair who's there
Oh, yeah.
when Cassie's getting taking the drug, and she's talking her through seeing the Red Forest and that. So
She's called the Striking Woman.
is she? Well, she is
Yeah,
striking.
that's her. Yeah, she
Cool.
is very striking.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so all in all, it's been an enjoyable journey so far, and we've got 4 more episodes coming up, and then I think we're going to do the episode 13 with the premiere of season 2 as maybe just one episode as well, just because we'll be interested to see what the bridge between the first and second season is going to be all about. So we might want to discuss that in a little more detail, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
We'll
a
see.
good plan.
Yep. All righty. Any last words? Are we all good?
We are
All good.
good.
Awesome. All right. So next episode, we'll be talking about episodes 9 through 12, and that's titled Tomorrow, Divine Move, Shonen, which we've had some references to a certain time period about in Tokyo, and Paradox. Oh, wow. It didn't take long for that to show up.
No, nothing seems to take long, which is I think it's a great thing.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned that others. It does seem like they are going through storyline quickly
Mhm.
with confidence that we've got plenty of story to tell, so we don't need
Yep.
to drag this out.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. All righty. So that's it for this episode, folks. And if you want to reach out to us, I'm going to get my 2 partners to tell us how to do that. And I'll start with you, Jesse.
Yes, you can email us at jklb5podcast@gmail.com. You send that email to us and we all get it. So that's so any thoughts about 12 Monkeys, Babylon 5, or what you want us to cover next. Currently, we have penciled in Watchmen, the HBO miniseries, but we are always open to feedback on what you would like us to cover. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. You can find Jesse Jackson on Facebook, and you can hear me talk about Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere, and John Hyatt on Perfectly Good Podcast, and of course Set Lusting Bruce, where I am talking about all kinds of things Bruce Springsteen. Karen?
I am at Aliveria on various social media, and my blog is aliesstuff.com, at which you can find a bunch of links and interesting things. If you're into reading romance novels, there's a lot of stuff there.
And I am on YouTube at Lose Reviews, where you'll find the Babylon 5 podcast, the JKL Media podcast, where we're doing this one, 12 Monkeys, as well as a writer's podcast interview and a Stephen King podcast. And on Twitter, I'm at Lou W. Sitzma. So with that, the time machine has been shut down, and we're all going to go back to our normal timelines and reconvene next week to talk about this all over again. So until then, take care, so long, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And scene.